Imagine buying a business where every single room is sold out. At $2,000 a night, you are printing money, right? Wrong. If you look at the profit and loss statement of a five-star hotel, you will find something deeply disturbing. The line item labeled rooms shows a massive, staggering 75% profit margin, yet the final net profit margin of the entire property is often less than 8%. Think about that. A business that can charge an elite executive or a vacationing billionaire thousands of dollars for a single night's sleep is barely keeping its head above water. Where did all the money go? Most people look at a grand, historic luxury hotel and see a gold mine. They see the marble pillars, the crystal chandeliers, and the fleet of pristine sports cars parked at the entrance. They calculate the math in their heads. 300 rooms multiplied by $1,500 a night. It feels like an unstoppable cash machine. But behind the gold leaf revolving doors lies a brutal, unforgiving financial reality. Over the next few minutes, we are going to dissect the balance sheet of the world's most exclusive properties and uncover the hidden economic machine that most people never notice. You will discover the secret financial metrics that dictate whether a hotel lives or dies, how ultra-luxury brands trick the human brain into ignoring massive upcharges, and the invisible corporate structure that shifts all the risk onto unsuspecting investors while the major hotel brands walk away with a guaranteed profit. This is not a story about hospitality. This is a forensic investigation into the economics of owning a luxury hotel. To understand why this business is so deceptive, we first have to look at what people normally see. When you check into a luxury suite, the world feels effortless. The air is perfectly scented. The staff remembers your name, your favorite drink, and how many pillows you prefer. Everything you touch feels heavy, expensive, and permanent. From the outside, it looks like a simple retail business on steroids. A standard retail store buys an item for $50 and sells it for $100. A luxury hotel sells a room that costs almost nothing to clean, for a premium that feels like pure profit. If a guest pays $2,000 for a night, the physical cost of the sheets, the tiny soaps, and the electricity used might total $50. On paper, that looks like a gross margin that would make Silicon Valley software companies jealous. This is layer 1, the illusion of effortless, high-margin wealth. But when we pull back the velvet curtain and look at layer 2, the spreadsheet tells a completely different story. The immediate reality is the crushing, inescapable weight of fixed operating expenses, or what industry insiders call fixex. A luxury hotel cannot scale its costs down when times are tough. If a budget hotel has low occupancy, they cut staff, turn off the hallway lights, and lock the doors to empty floors. An ultra-luxury hotel cannot do that. The moment a five-star property lowers its standards, it destroys its brand equity. The heat must stay on. The flowers in the lobby must be replaced every 3 days. At a cost of thousands of dollars a week, the army of staff must remain standing at attention, even if there is only one guest in the entire building. In a regular premium business, the ratio of employees to customers is kept as lean as possible. In an ultra-luxury hotel, that ratio is flipped upside down. It is common to see a 3-to-1 staff-to-guest ratio. 3 salaries, paid 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to service a single occupied room. Suddenly, that 75% profit margin on the room begins to evaporate. Which brings us to a deeper question: how does this system even function? To understand why it works, you have to realize that a luxury hotel is actually 2 entirely different businesses operating under one roof. This is layer 3. The separation of asset ownership from corporate management. What most people believe is that when they stay at a Hilton, a Marriott, or a Four Seasons, that specific company owns the building. What actually happens is a complex financial arrangement called the asset-light model. The hospitality giants, the brands whose names are carved into the limestone, rarely own the bricks and mortar. They do not own the real estate. Instead, a wealthy individual, a private equity fund, or a sovereign wealth fund buys the land and builds the hotel. They take on hundreds of millions of dollars in debt to create the physical structure. Then, they sign a 300-page management contract with a luxury brand to operate it. Why does this change everything? because the luxury brand takes its cut directly from the top-line revenue before any expenses are paid. They charge a base management fee, usually 2 to 3% of gross revenue, just for putting their name on the door and connecting the hotel to their global booking system. They also take an incentive fee, which is a percentage of profits, if the hotel does well, but if the hotel loses money, the brand still gets its revenue fee. The real estate owner, however, absorbs 100% of the losses. They are the ones who must face the bank when the debt payments are due. It is a brilliant strategy for the hotel brands. They scale globally without risking their own capital. But for the owner, it means they are running a high-risk, low-yield real estate gamble wrapped in a glamorous package. So why do independent operators and smaller competitors struggle to break into this market? This is layer 4. The immense economic moat that protects established luxury hotels from new competition. If you want to open a boutique luxury hotel, you might think you can just buy a beautiful building, design stunning rooms, and wait for guests to arrive. But you will quickly find yourself suffocated by the global distribution system. When a high-net-worth traveler wants to book a trip, they rarely search Google randomly. They look at their high-end credit card portal. Or they call an elite travel advisor who belongs to an exclusive network like Virtuoso. The major luxury brands spend decades cultivating these relationships. They plug their properties into proprietary loyalty programs that hold affluent travelers hostage with elite status perks. An independent hotel has to pay massive commissions, sometimes up to 25%, to online travel agencies just to get noticed. A major luxury brand pays a fraction of that because they own the direct relationship with the customer. Furthermore, consider the capital expenditure requirements, or CapEx. In a normal office building or apartment complex, you renovate the interior every 15 to 20 years. In the ultra-luxury hotel world, the asset degrades at an alarming speed. Guests paying thousands of dollars a night will notice a scuff on the baseboard, a slightly worn carpet, or an outdated television. To maintain its 5-star rating, a luxury hotel must completely renovate its rooms every 5 to 7 years. This is a brutal, recurring capital expense that eats up almost all the free cash flow the hotel generates during its peak years. If an owner cannot afford the capex, the brand will simply threaten to strip their name off the building, leaving the owner with a massively devalued asset. To find out where the real money actually comes from, we have to look past the rooms entirely and examine layer 5. The hidden economics of ancillary revenue. In a standard hotel, rooms are the main event. In an ultra-luxury hotel, the room is simply a customer acquisition tool. The room gets the wealthy individual into the building. Once they are inside, the real monetization begins. Think of it like a highly sophisticated theme park for adults. The profit margin on a bottle of spirits at a luxury hotel bar can easily reach 85%. A single spa treatment that costs $300 carries a massive margin because the labor is paid by the hour while the products used cost pennies. But the crown jewel of luxury hotel economics is the banquet and event space. Grand ballrooms are the secret profit engines of the entire property. When a luxury hotel hosts a high-society wedding or a corporate gala for a Fortune 500 company, the revenue density shifts dramatically. They are not just selling a room for 24 hours, they are selling food, premium alcohol, audio-visual equipment rental, and staging, all compressed into a 6-hour window. The margins on high-end catering are astronomical. A single corporate weekend event can generate more net profit for a luxury hotel than an entire month of standard room bookings. The physical asset is optimized to squeeze maximum spend out of every square foot. This brings us to a fascinating paradox. If the operating costs are so high, if the capex cycles are so brutal, and if the management contracts favor the brands, why do institutional investors and billionaires keep buying these properties? Why do they value this business model so highly? This is layer 6. Investor psychology and the concept of yield capitalization. Real estate investors use a specific metric called the capitalization rate, or cap rate, to value properties. It is calculated by dividing the property's net operating income by its current market value. Because luxury hotels are located in prime, irreplaceable locations. Like Central Park in New York, Mayfair in London, or the Grand Canal in Venice. They are viewed as ultimate safe haven assets. They are the financial equivalent of gold with a roof on it. When global inflation spikes, a standard commercial building with 10-year leases cannot adjust its rent quickly. But a luxury hotel can change its room rates every single afternoon. If inflation goes up by 10%, the hotel raises its room rate by 10% that night. It is an incredibly efficient inflation hedge. Furthermore, mega-wealthy investors do not just look at cash-on-cash yield, they look at asset appreciation and tax strategies. They use depreciation laws to write off millions of dollars against their other income streams, while the land underneath the hotel steadily increases in value over decades. A luxury hotel is often a trophy asset, a physical manifestation of status that holds its intrinsic value far better than stocks, bonds, or currency. But the future of this invisible economic machine is facing unprecedented disruption. As we enter Layer 7, we see a collision between rising operational threats and shifting consumer psychology. The biggest threat to the luxury hotel business today is not a lack of customers. It is a lack of premium labor. The business model relies entirely on a deep pool of highly trained, immaculate human beings willing to work in service roles. As global labor costs rise and demographic shifts shrink the hospitality workforce, the cost to maintain that vital 3-to-1 staff-to-guest ratio is skyrocketing. If a hotel tries to automate these roles using technology, using tablets for check-in or artificial intelligence for room service, they instantly dilute the luxury experience. True luxury is human attention. You cannot automate a feeling of elite status. At the same time, a new generation of ultra-wealthy travelers is rejecting the grand, old-world hotel model. They do not want the high-profile, 300-room palace with a bustling lobby. They want hyper-exclusive, low-profile, highly secure ultra-boutique villas, properties with only 20 rooms where privacy is the ultimate commodity. This shift is forcing major luxury brands to rethink their entire development pipeline, moving away from massive urban landmarks toward fragmented, remote, ultra-private estates that are even more expensive to operate. When we look at the entire system from top to bottom, from the tiny bottle of artisanal shampoo to the sovereign wealth funds trading these properties across international borders, we learn a powerful lesson about modern economics. The luxury hotel business teaches us that value is completely decoupled from cost. A guest does not pay $2,000 a night because the bed is 40 times more comfortable than a $50 motel bed. They pay for the engineering of an emotional state. They pay for security, predictability, and above all, the validation of their place in the social hierarchy. The true product being sold here is not a place to sleep. It is a temporary membership in an elite world where every friction point of human existence has been carefully smoothed over by someone else's labor. It is a highly complex, fragile financial illusion, where the owner carries the debt. The brand takes the profit, and the guest pays a premium just to feel like the main character in a beautifully staged corporate play. In the end, the economics of a luxury hotel prove one undeniable truth of the modern world.